Well, let's get started here. As George has said, I'm Kyle, AA0Z, and let me see if I can get to... So I was originally licensed in 1995 as KB0RPM. I changed to N0KTK, and currently AA0Z. I was the past president of Suburban Radio Club, and currently I'm website and engineering committee chair, but I'm going to step down my duties in 2022 from both committees. I've got some aging parents, and they're taking some time. Hey, Bill, can I get you to mute your audio there? So I enjoy working portable, and I think this is what kind of pushed me into the portable aspect and expedition class of the Missouri QSO Party. So whenever I'm not on the radio, I like to play tennis, played the piano for 38 years. I make some YouTube videos on the side, and also I'm an IT geek, so I do IT for my day job. All right, it all started on 2015, Illinois QSO Party. This was the setup that Justin and I ran. We basically did it on a whim, and this was my first really expedition forte into expedition. I had worked the QSO Party before, but didn't really have any success because I live in the city of St. Louis, and I'm assuming you could probably imagine living in the city with... hey, Glenn, can I get you to mute your mic? We're getting some background noise there. Hey, Glenn, can I get you to mute your mic? Got some breath noise coming through the speakers there. So this was 2015 in the Illinois QSO Party. So I got the bug, and I decided, you know what? I live in Missouri. I want to participate in the Missouri QSO Party. What can I do expedition in Missouri QSO? So took a look at the logs, and you could basically... You probably understand that Whiskey Zero Sierra was the team to beat in the Missouri QSO Party. That they were winning year after year after year in the expedition class, and I'm like, you know what? I like to do portable. That's what I'm going to go do, and I set out to beat them. That's the whole goal of the expedition class, was to beat Whiskey Zero Sierra. They basically had no competition. Here we go. I'm gonna try and beat them. So. Did some research and some bullet points there on what we came up with. So first, in order for you to do expedition, obviously we are going to try and maximize the points, and to maximize the points, you want to be on a county line. So we started Googling county lines, and back in 2015, we really didn't have a lot of things to go to. There were some things on the internet, but obviously, as technology progressed, it got better and better. So you get this view right here or the map right there of all the county lines, and you got to basically figure out what's going on and where things intersect, and you really can't find. Is it in a wooded area? Is it on private property? Is it impossible to get to? It's just not a good map to figure out where to go. So as technology got better, we got Google Earth, and Google Earth was awesome. I mean, you could go down to the satellite view. You could also drill down to exactly what was going on. Was it a campsite? What else was going on with that site? So if you go into Google Earth and you turn on borders and labels and parks and recreation areas, you can basically find free places to camp out and to operate from. So Google Earth was our friend. We scoured the Google Earth for hours and hours. I would come home from work and probably get on Google Earth for a couple hours trying to find corner lines that... we wanted a 3-county line. We actually wanted a 4-county line, and I got a slide for that. But anyway, we wanted to maximize our points in order if we were going to go and travel to a county line. But Google Earth doesn't show a lot of stuff. It doesn't show topology very well. Back then it didn't. It doesn't show land ownership, so we had some pitfalls that we had to get through. So here's a picture of a 3-county line that we actually went to. This is Putnam, Sullivan, and Adair. And, there's a lot of questions on, is the map data correct? Is it a federal or county level? How recent is the information? There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts that you have to work out with just viewing the stuff on the internet. Another thing we figured out were lines are not straight on around Earth, right? There's some discrepancy here, and we'll get into the discrepancies. And a lot of counties and states put signs where it's convenient, right? They don't put them actually on the county line. They just put them where it's convenient. Depends on how pissed off that state worker is that day if they actually want to get it right, So then we also figured out who holds the system of record versus the source of truth for county line locations. And we were seeing a bunch of discrepancies. There's also a ton of discrepancies out there. So let's take a look at a 4-county line that everyone has some heartburn over, all right? And we looked at this 4-county line for months. I mean, months. We went up there. We took a look at the data. So this 4-county line, Macon, Shelby, Randolph, and Monroe. It's 440 feet between county lines on that yellow line there between Randolph and Monroe going horizontal. So we went up there, and there was a whole bunch of pitfalls. The tree line for antennas could be a hindrance. There's swamp line down there in Monroe. We had an RV, so we'd probably get stuck somewhere putting this RV in. And, who really... we knew who owned these 4-county lines, and we were going to write them a letter because, obviously, up there in farmland community, nobody lives on their county or their property. Everyone's got farmland everywhere else. So we were going to reach out to the line owners and try and figure out if we could make this work. And we ended up scrapping it. But one of the pitfalls that we had was we looked at Google Earth, we looked at OpenStreetMaps, and we looked at Bing Maps. And take a look at the discrepancy here on where these county line areas lie. So the red arrows is the county line between, I think it's Shelby, Macon, and Randolph and Monroe. So take a look at these county line discrepancies. You've got over on the Google Earth, you've got the line coming down and basically following the road that comes in from the left and then goes south towards the bottom of the picture. On OpenStreetMaps, that line is above the road, and it doesn't follow the road that goes south. It's about probably 200 feet to, that would be the west. And then same thing with Bing Maps. So we were finding all kinds of discrepancies over there on who holds the record of truth, and what you could easily defend in a court of law, right? So we decided it was going to be easier for us to go to a 3-county line that had public property. So we decided on Sullivan, Putnam, and Adair, and it is in the middle of Union Ridge Conservation Area. And there's a place for us to camp. There's a place for us to set up. We could get a permit to put antennas in the trees. They didn't care. So this was a perfect place for us to set up and to do our 3-county line operation here. So where is Union Ridge? It's about 4 hours from St. Louis, 40 minutes northwest of Kirksville. So it's up there. It's the middle of nowhere. Closest house is 3 miles away. There's no power lines. I mean, it is in the middle of farmland. And it's a huge hunting and farming ground. If you go up there, you're going to hear gunshots all the time. So it's pretty remote. It's 30 miles of blacktop road and then 2 miles of gravel road to get to the campsite. So 2016, we decided to take a trip up to Union Ridge and put that 3-county line on the air. So myself, Well, one, we were operated from as Whiskey 9 Whiskey because we didn't get Whiskey 0 Whiskey at through the 1x1 call signs because there's a place down in Georgia, I think it's Mississippi, that they do something called a powwow. And they reserve Whiskey 0 Whiskey for like 3 weeks straight. And they only on the air for like, 2 days. So they had already reserved Whiskey 0 Whiskey for that year. So we reserved Whiskey 9 Whiskey and operated up there. Myself, Justin, Chris, WX5CW, which I think is a member, and then Kevin, K0KEV. We had 3.5 stations on the air. We took second place, 102 points, 102,000 points. Final score was 95,000, which is an 8% reduction, which was kind of high. Total QSOs 269, 100 raw for CW, single sideband 262, made 6 FM contacts, 74 multis. Man, did we learn a lot. We learned a ton of what to do and what not to do. We used a bunch of PVC for antenna masts, and it was a little crazy. And you can remember 2016, the wind was howling like you wouldn't believe. I mean, we had like 30, 40, 50-mile gusts up on that ridge. We snapped 2 antennas. We broke a mast pole. You can see the tent almost blowing over there. Kevin was in there operating somewhere. It was crazy. But we learned a ton. 2017, here we go with Whiskey 0 Whiskey, and we took myself, Justin, W0JSG. We recruited CJ from Chicago, WT2P, Chris again, Sterling, who I think is a member of your club, N0SSC, and Kevin, back up to this site. We had 4 stations on the air. Again, we couldn't topple Whiskey 0 Sierra. Whenever you've got 30 years experience with a bunch of young contesters that only have, probably less than 20 combined, it's kind of hard to beat those guys. But we were determined to try and figure out what we were going to do to beat them. Claim score 310, so we almost doubled. We did double the score. We only had a 2% reduction, so we had some good low air rate. 290 or 792 QSOs raw, so we put 440 raw. So this is without the 3 county multiplier. This is just raw QSOs. 440 CW, 297 single sideband, 6 FM, 45 ready. We put got 73 multis, and then we, if you talk to Craig, K9CT is going to tell you it's all about rate. Well, you got to put your butt in the chair for the rate to come up. So we needed to put more time in the chair. We really didn't make a huge effort to operate the full 20 hours. It was more of a beer drinking event than operating. But we had a ton of stuff on the air that, and the setup was pretty massive. So you can see all of the things that we did to set up. We had tents. We had dipoles. Everyone had like 2 dipoles on the air. So 2018, this is where we kind of got serious. It's myself, Justin, and CJ. We won the thing. First place overall, first place expedition, 511,000 points. We had a big reduction, 10% reduction in score. 463 was our final score. But we put over 1,000 QSOs on the board. 401 CW, 550 single sideband. We didn't do any FM. Digital, 114. And this is where our multis really jumped up. We had 114 multis. We put points on the board because we put our butts in the chair and we called CQ and got some good search and pounce rates with multipliers. So good Invis antennas are key, and it was cold and it snowed. Sure, everyone can remember the Missouri QSO Party when it snowed on Sunday, and it was not fun. I'll tell you that. So this was our setup. This is down in the lower left-hand corner. Is us pulling out of Union Ridge at 3 o'clock. Or not 3 o'clock. It's probably 6 or 7 o'clock. and there's a good dusting of snow on the ground. All right, 2019. We had enough of Union Ridge because of the snow. We decided to go to a 2-county line, and my friend Chris Suchland, he owns a farm, and it just happens to be on the Pike and Lincoln County lines. It's half in Pike and half in Lincoln. So we're like, well, let's just go up there. Well, we took myself, Justin, CJ came back down, W9RNY from Illinois, Eric, my friend N9RCR, who wanted to get into contesting. Those guys came over part-time, and we kind of got them on the air and got some contacts underneath their belt. A second place overall, second place expedition, 246,000 points, 794 total raw. We basically, this was a beer drinking event for us too. We really didn't put a lot of effort into the contest. We could have done a lot better, but we didn't. We had a lower score because we were in 2 county lines. Plus, we had some new operators that we wanted to introduce to contesting, so we showed them the ropes, and we knew that we were not going to win, but we had a good time. Plus, a new area. You're unfamiliar with the location and how to put your antennas up, so we had a little bit of battle of where we were going to put antennas to get them on the county line. So here are some pictures. Again, the tents, the Eskimo tents with no floor. Got some masts out there. We put if you put a loop up, don't put it above water. That's not salt water, and you don't get a pond effect whenever you put a loop above water. Not a good ground. 2020. This is just me. COVID hit, and I went out down to Howell County, took a look at the stats, and I noticed that Howell County had not been activated. So I went down there, 59,000. Only 2% reduction. I put 544 QSOs on the board. Tried my hand at CW at some multipliers, 552 single sidebands. I had a lot of issues. I had some antenna issues, coax issues. Murphy's Law struck a couple of times, but had a good time down there. So I put YouTube videos out. If you want to watch any of the Missouri QSO stuff, you can go to my YouTube page, and I've got videos on all of the QSO parties back from 2017, I believe, all the way to the present. Actually, 16. So I'm working on the one for this year. Haven't even started yet. I've got about 50 hours of video that I need to go through. But so be looking for that. So if you remember, we were going to go back to Union Ridge. So we had to do a recon trip because we had not been there for a while. So Justin and I drove up there, and we did. I got a drone, so I got some drone shots of the location. And whenever you haven't been to a location for a while, you don't know what has happened. A lot of things could have happened between now and then, so we had to go out and do a little recon trip. So we weren't for sure that we were going to go to Union Ridge in 2021, but after going up there and taking a look, we decided to go back. Whenever you plan an expedition, you don't have to do this. This is what I do, but you got to put some spreadsheets together. You got to figure out who's doing what food you're going to eat, who needs to buy what antennas you're going to use. I mean, it's a whole ordeal. So we use Google Drive to put some spreadsheets together, and we had monthly meetings and a couple of meetings the week of to make sure that everyone was bringing everything that we needed to operate up there. So now I got to put together the team, and actually this starts the day after the last QSO party on who's going to come up and work with us. So you got to figure out who's got some strengths in CW, digital, logistics, planning, cooking, equipment. How much contest experience do people have? Have they operated contests in the past? So a lot of things to sort out. Plus, I wanted to be a younger group of contesters putting together this team, so we could basically show the old farts that we could actually put some points on the board. So here's the team that I assembled this year. Myself, Justin, Scott, WZ0W. He lives in the Moscow Mills area. Is an excellent CW operator. CJ came back down. He is a monster on CW. That guy can clobber some CW. Mark, my friend from high school that lives in Wichita, Kansas. He came over, KK0O. Sterling, everyone knows Sterling and 0SSC. And then Kevin came back to do some digital and some single sideband. He's our cook. He basically is the cook of the bunch, so we put him on cooking duties. But we had some concerns for the weekend, right? We had COVID-19 going on. Who was vaccinated? Who wasn't vaccinated? Thunderstorms are always an issue because we're up on a ridge and there's really not a lot of cover up there. And then also one of the issues that we were going to have this year were the locations where we put antennas to be on county lines and how we string our antennas. That was going to be jeopardized possibly by new crops that the conservation department was possibly going to plan. So we had to keep close ties to them to figure out if they were going to put their crops up, if they were going to plant their crops. Fortunately, they did not plant crops, so we were good to go. But we didn't know that they were not planting crops until probably I think it was the first week in July when they finally told us that they weren't going to plant any crops. So we had some goals, right? First goal, win. We're not doing this for our health. We want to win. Bunch of bullet points here, but the one thing that we learned on older station or older expeditions where we wanted to use resonant antennas for every station. That was a key. So we also had a design, right? So we needed to string the 20-meter dipoles north and south so they propagate east and west. We needed to string the 40 dipoles east and west so they mostly propagated north and south because we were in the northern part, so we wanted our signal to go mostly south. You know, does that really work, and is that the real propagation? Who knows? It makes good sense in our brain, though. Also, the thing that we had going for us was we had five flex radios that we were going to put on the air. Everyone going up, except for Scott, had a flex radio. So we were 100% flex radio operating up there during the weekend. So we also had to figure out the flex radio based on the features it had, because we had some 6300. We had a 6300, we had three 6600s, and we had a 6700. If you don't know anything about flexes, the 6700s and the 6600s are really contest-grade radios, so we wanted to put those strategically on locations for operators that we knew that we were going to have the most interference with. Therefore, we could filter out and put a lot of those contest filters that are built into the flex radio into use. So here was our plan. Did we stick to this plan? No. We basically get up there and we try and figure out what we need to do. But this is the plan going in. This was not the plan that we ended up putting together. So here we are. I rented a U-Haul because I had so much crap. So there's my truck up there in the upper right-hand corner with the U-Haul. There's Justin's truck with the camper. You can see the U-Haul trailer. It was packed to the gill. We took everything. Getting 7 people up there. We needed to take a lot of stuff. So here's camp. You can see there's a parking lot there. We had plenty of space for parking. And I'll get into some of the other particulars. You can see an FM setup there, antenna. Pulled the U-Haul kind of below the awning so we could get into the U-Haul if it rained. We were really concerned about rain, and it rained. So here's our setup. So each operating position had a tent. So there was a 3-person Eskimo tent for single sideband, and we supplied power with a Honda generator, and we had tight quarters in there, 2 operators per tent. So that was the Eskimo tent up there was the single sideband. Below was the CW. That was a more spacious, but we put that up Friday night and it rained, and we found out real quick that the original rain fly was not really that fly. We had a ton of water in the tent. So here are some operating positions for the CW guys. So the upper right-hand corner is a position of CJ's location with his Maestro and his 6600. He ran SO2R. Again, CJ is a monster on CW. That guy can, if he could put 3 bands on the air, he'd run 3 bands. But the radio only's got 2 antenna ports. There's a Scott in the lower picture. He had a Flex 6600, a Maestro, Astron switching power supply. He had a 3D printed paddle that he was using. And then we use N1MM, and basically we network all of the stations together via wireless through the N1MM protocol, or the UDP. It does UDP. It doesn't do TCP. It drives me insane. But it is what it is. Here's the single sideband. That's Mark in the upper right-hand corner. He had a 6400. Had some Bose headsets, Astron switching power supply, and again, a laptop running N1MM. And then I think that's Mark again. He got into 2 pictures. Not really sure how that worked, but I think the first one is Sterling up there. Second one down in the lower right-hand corner is Mark, and that's a 6300 Maestro, Heil headset, Astron switching power supply, and a laptop running N1MM. Here was the digital station. This was the Flex 6700 power supply, N1MM, running FL Digi and WSJTX, which we didn't even use that. We made 0 contacts on FT8 after all the hubbub about FT8. So, and then also that Kenwood TM710 GA sitting over there on the right-hand side of the picture, and then we just manually entered all of the QSOs in N1MM because it doesn't have cat control. Here are our antennas. So this was a CW antenna. The arrow is pointing to the top of the military mast. So it's a 20-40-80 inverted V. All of the radials, or all the driven elements, are fanned out at about, I think, was that 60 degrees, 180? No, 120 degrees? Yeah, 120. And then we had the exact same setup for the CW station, 20-40-80. And then we also had an end fed at about 35 feet, and that was Scott mainly operated off of that. That was an 80/6. Single sideband, we had a Wyndham up there that had a vertical radiator at about 30 feet. That does really, really well for some odd reason on Missouri QSO parties, especially on 40 and 80. You can hear a lot of stations. 20, it does all right. And then the second station, single sideband, had another push-up mast and a 20-40-80 fan dipole, and it was setting at about 30 feet. So here is the fan dipoles. If you're interested, it's got a radio waves 1-to-1 current balun. It's got 3 pigtails, so you can see the pigtails there. That's all of the fan elements come off of. And then this is the top of the poles, and it's basically just a cap that goes up, and then we put a string through this eyelet, and we raise and lower the antenna if we need to. On digital, we had a DX Commander. That's that vertical there. And then we also had a Invis antenna, 40 and 80, and that was setting at about 20 feet. Beverage antennas. So this is where we put a bunch of beverage antennas to help mitigate some noise on 80. So this was just, you can buy this off DX Engineering, a KD9 SV Bog. It's amazing. At Union Ridge, they don't mow, so they've got these flowers and this brush that sits at about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground. It's great. You just run your wire, and it's instant pulls. to keep that wire up off the ground. Getting a bog about 2 or 3 feet off the ground is great. It worked well. Worked really well. The nice thing about a bog is you can plug the flexes have got a receiver antenna port, so you can do diversity receiving on the flex with a beverage and your regular antenna. So there were signals that we were hearing that I don't think anybody else was hearing because they were so faint. And spools of coax. You can imagine by putting 5 stations on the air, you got to have some massive coax. The upper right-hand corner, we were keeping the coax dry for a bit. That's our spools and spools and spools of coax. Then over here on the left-hand side, or right-hand side, sorry, this is the unspooler. The spooler and the unspooler made out of PVC pipe to get that stuff on the spool and off the spool. One of the goals that we had was zero noise floor. So if you know anything about the Honda generators and plugging them into amateur radio equipment, they do have a little bit of noise, but if you ground them properly and put some ferrite chokes on them, they become quiet. So we drove ground rods in, and we put Mix 31 chokes on everything. You can see I've got the top pulled off of a AC choke that I built, and that's 2. The Romex comes in and goes through 2 Mix 31, and then that takes care of the lower bands, the RF the noise on the lower bands, and then it goes from the 2 that are super glued together into a single toroid, a Mix 31 toroid, and does 8 or 9 wrappings in that, and then comes out and plugs into the generator. And that single toroid really helps on the upper bands. So anything that had AC or DC going in or out got a ferrite choke. We wanted zero noise floor. And of course, you need cheat sheets. So we put together a bunch of cheat sheets on all of the county names and their exchanges, and then we also put together a cheat sheet for the frequencies that we were going to run at. So I talked about N1MM and networking. Well, in 2018, I built this box. I'm sure that some of you engineers would probably get a kick out of this. This was the N1MM contesting box version 2.0. The first version was basically we put a hotspot, a Verizon hotspot, in a baggie and stuck it on a pole at about 30 feet, and that was our hotspot. It eventually died because of battery life, but so this was version 2.0, and we basically shot Wi-Fi from each of the operating positions to this central point, which is in the center picture, with some 2.4 Yagis from each operating position. Now graduate to 2001, and this is our advanced. This is our current contesting box. So this is a waterproof box. Got some fans that kick on at about 95 degrees. You can see the big Yagis there on the left-hand side. That is for the cell phone provider. And we had a Nighthawk hotspot in there that plugged into those Yagis, and we pointed it at a cell phone tower, which was about 17 miles away. And we were getting 70 down and 15 up in the middle of nowhere. But you can see all of the things that I was putting in. There's got some Raspberry Pis. It's got an industrial Ethernet 5-port switch. It's got some power supplies. And then it's got the Wi-Fi hotspot that is Velcroed to the side of the box there, and that's what provided Wi-Fi to all of the tents. So I built this in my spare time. You can see another picture of it without all the stuff pointing to it. So that shot that we were getting internet from was about 16.7 miles away. And you can see the terrain in the bottom. We were shooting through some crap, but didn't matter. We were getting some good downloads and uploads. Actually, Sterling streamed from it on, I think, Sunday. We were getting such high bandwidth and bitrate. We decided that we were going to let him stream. So that was the contest box in all its glory. They're connected to the side of the U-Haul tent, or the U-Haul trailer. So again, if you go to cellmapper.com, you can see, like, some people that have mapped out where they've got cell phone coverage and where we don't. But the red circle is where we were at, and then there's that Verizon tower. Here's a picture of the tower from Google Maps on what we were pointing at. All right, so we had to basically, to get the N1MM information back from each tent, we had to I put up a patch antenna, and we had all of the networking, or all of the flexes were networked together. You could basically be in any tent and connect to any flex on the network. It was great. We were going to use that if it rained. We were going to put just the flexes in the tents, and we were going to work out of the trailer. But the rain pushed through, and we had some good weather. So we always learn a bunch of things about N1MM. The one thing that we do that is a constant with N1MM networking is it sucks. It's horrible. I would suggest not doing what we did. Use something else as if you're going to network stuff wirelessly through some. If you needed to do some contest work like field day, it's horrible. Everything that you get on the forums and they say is supposed to work, it never works for us. So this was basically just my therapy here, that I was putting the words on the paper on all the crap that is wrong with N1MM. But it's a great program, but the networking sucks. So let's talk about weather. Everyone knows that it rained this year. Some people got more than others. So that black circle is where we were at. 1 a.m. Saturday, here comes the rain. 6 a.m. Saturday, it's still raining. 9 a.m. on Saturday, the rain is starting to taper off, but we got soaked. I mean, it rained and rained and rained. So we had to dry some stuff off. We quit early on Friday because of some issues that we were having, and we didn't get all of our things set up, but man, did it rain. So our plan was basically each tent had a dedicated run and search pouch station. We were going to spot every 30 minutes on the spotting networks. Take some breaks as you want. Try and pass as many stations as possible, between 40 and 80. One thing that we were trying to do, and I was trying to get the word out, is to go to 80 meters at the top of the hour so we could get some multipliers during the day. That works. If you haven't gotten on 80 meters at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can hear in the Missouri stations. It's amazing how many multipliers we get during the day on 80 meters. But the goal of the weekend was to have fun, right? And to win. That was the goals. The operating reality was just make as many contacts as you can. It came down to, things get thrown out of the window whenever stuff doesn't work. Just make as many contacts as you can. The one thing that we had going for us was we were a POTA. We were K8503. If you know anything about POTA, it is huge, right? There's a ton of POTA people chasing parks, activating parks. So Union Ridge Conservation Area was 8503. We spotted ourselves on the POTA network and the spotting network. And as long as, we set our 3-county line, Adair, Putnam, and Sullivan, the POTA operators and the POTA hunters either they had no clue, or two, they could care less where we were at. They just wanted to get that POTA site in their log, and for me to submit the log to the POTA gods for them to get credit. Another thing that comes with the weekend is food, right? So the plan was nobody eats 3 meals a day, 2 meals a day. We're going to pre-cook as much stuff in St. Louis as possible. The griddles, I love the griddles. The griddles come in very handy for, they're the one-stop shop that you can basically cook anything. And down on the lower left-hand corner, that is the meal of a real contester. You've got a Budweiser, you got a hamburger on 2 heels, or the top is a heel of a piece of bread, chips, some peanut butter on a knife, and 2 Oreo cookies. That's what keeps you going. If you haven't seen my video on Sterling doing a masterclass of trying to contact on a satellite, it's a parody. It's a spoof. Don't do what he did. But he was out there trying to put together a satellite contact. It was pretty funny on all the things that he was doing to get a satellite contact. If you haven't watched that video, go out there and watch that video on my channel. The Flex in-band contesting. You don't own a Flex. There's one thing that the Flex does really well is filtering and putting stations very strong signals right beside the signal that you're trying to listen to or the signal that you're trying to operate from. We were able, because we had Flexes and because they're so good, we were able to put 3 signals on each band without us hearing anybody else, the other contesters in our area. So we had CW running on 40 meters. We had somebody calling CQ on digital and someone on the upper band on lower sideband. We were running 3 signals on 40 meters, and we never heard one another. That is huge when you can put 3 signals on a band and not hear each other. Usually the digital guys are drowning out the CW guys. The CW guys are drowning out the single sideband guys. That's the awesome power of the Flex. So here we were tearing down. Got some more slides here, but here we were tearing down on Sunday. Justin and I decided that we were going to camp out on Sunday night and then actually tear down on Monday, but we decided with all the help that we had, we tore down on Sunday and we drove to Columbia, Missouri and grabbed a hotel on Sunday night so we could be home early. We got out of the site at about 8 p.m. on Sunday, which was a record. We don't get out of that place until 9 or 10 o'clock. So how did we do? Here are our stats. So Whiskey Zero Whiskey, 3 county line. Myself, Justin, CJ, Scott, Sterling, Kevin, and KK0O, Mark. We had 5 stations on the air. We're claiming a score of 918,000 points. We looked back through the records, and we think that the record couple 3 years ago was 518,000 or 546,000, if I can remember right. So, as long as we don't have like a 50% in reduction in score, I think we got the record. But final scores are not out yet. We'll see what our final score is. We made over 1,700 QSOs. Some of those were duplicates, but for the POTA. The thing with the POTA is after 7 p.m., the POTA, the UTC rolls over. So a hunter can contact you again and get a second point for that park for another day. So we had some POTA people call us back, and we had some duplicates, and we just went ahead and logged them anyway. But 1,736 QSOs raw. Over 1,000 CW contacts, over 600 single sideband, 9 FM, 36 RIDI, and still only 112 multis. We were kind of disappointed in the multis. We missed out on a bunch of multis, and I'll tell you why. And also, if it's going to rain, it takes twice as long as expected. We were going to plan for a 6th station, but we never got it on the air. So here are our stats. So 9 a.m. start over on the left-hand side there. The Saturday QSOs are in blue. The Sunday QSOs are in red. Take a look at that QSO rate for UTC 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. The first hour, we didn't even put any QSOs on the board. Second hour, we only put 3. The third hour, so this is 11 a.m., we put 75, and then 111, and 83, and 86. We finally got the CW tent all shook out and on the air 2.5 hours into the contest. We did not start at 9 a.m. We started at 10:30. We did not get single sideband on the air until 3 p.m. on Sunday. We had issue after issue. Some things happened. So at 20 UTC, you can see it jumped up to 140 QSOs an hour. We finally got the single sideband tent, and we missed out on a ton of multis. ND9E was in Pike County, Rawls County. He went up Highway 61. We missed all of those multis going all the way up there that we could have grabbed. But the issue that we had was we started late on CW and we started way late on single sideband. So I think that if we would have gotten all of the stations on and operated all 20 hours of MOQP, we would have broken a million points easily. But those are our records, our rates there. Our biggest rate was the 2000, the UTC. Forgot. Let's see, that would be what, 9 o'clock maybe. 178 QSO hour. So we did well that hour. There's Qs by hour in the upper right hand corner. CJ 626, Scott 457, myself 270, Sterling 198, Mark 136, Justin 45, and Kevin with 4. Again, he was cooking. And then 40 was our biggest band, 841 contacts on 40, 20, 635, 80 was 229, and then just a few on others. So here is our stats by year. So 2016, we 268 QSOs, 2017, 792, 2018, we had quite a few, over 1,000. 2019, we went to that 2-county line, so it dipped. 2020 was my single effort because of COVID, and then we had 2021 over 1,700. And then here are some stats by year on counties versus states. Don't have any data for 2016, but in 2021 we had 56 counties and 56 states and provinces. I forget which 2 or 3, maybe it's even more than that, 4 or 5 that we missed from, Hawaii and South Dakota were the 2 states we missed. And then we didn't get like Yukon and Nunavut, NT, and something else. I forgot what other Canadian province we missed. Here's the multis by year. 2018, we had 114. 2021 had 112. So here is our QSO multiplier for in-state contacts. Again, you can see that we missed all of those Pike, I think that's Rawls, all of those counties going up the Illinois border up Highway 61. We missed all of those because we just couldn't get single sideband on the air. But not as many counties as activated in years past. It seemed a little low. 40 meters always goes long, but 80 meters is, tried and true. If you participated in the Illinois QSO Party yesterday, 40 meters was on fire. It was great. I mean, I heard a ton of in-state contacts. So hopefully we'll be able to hear in-state contacts on 40 at Missouri QSO first week in April of 2022. But 40 was awesome last night or yesterday. It was great. So we missed a few counties due to logging errors. Franklin and Montgomery, we didn't grab those because of logging errors. So here is the QSOs by world. So red is single sideband, green is CW, and blue is digital. You can see that we put some countries on the air. We contacted some countries. We had like 67 DX, I believe. It's the number that we had. Here is the QSOs by mode, and this is an interesting graph, right? So 20 meters is, or I'm sorry, this is by mode. So CW is green, single sideband is red, digital is, what is that, purple. So you can see the spread across the United States. But this one is what's interesting is you see all of the QSOs and their ratio by band on the distance away from Missouri. So 40 meters is green. You can see all the close stuff. 20 meters is blue. So that's, on the coasts and over in California, Washington, Oregon. And then you had 80. There's 80 on here. 80 is in red, so you can see all of the close contacts that we had on 80. So if this is not a what you can do by band picture, I'm not really sure what is. One of the things that we got to do is take all those logs and put them in the POTA database, and that's no easy feat. Hang on, I'm going to take a drink. That is no easy feat because the POTA gods do not like whenever you submit POTA logs with 3-county multipliers in them. So I had to basically do some SQL database stuff and export all of the logs by single. So I had to basically say, all right, if it's an ADR, export it, and then I had to suck all that stuff into ADIF master and figure out what ADIF fields I need to create in order to give them to the POTA people in order for it to actually go and not be rejected by the POTA police. It's a pain in the butt. Here's some QSL cards. One from Japan. OK1. Is that Ukraine? I think that's Ukraine. SM3 DMP. Everyone knows. I forgot his name. It's not Mel. Lacey. Yeah. OM2 VL contacted him on 3 or 4 bands, and then here was the QSO card that we sent out. That I sent out. I got about, when you make 1,700 contacts, you get about 115 QSL cards. So that's I sent out 115 QSL cards so far.
Yeah, the OK1 is Czech Republic.
Czech. I get Ukraine and Czech mixed up. Even better ifs. So I'm not going to go through these, but we had a bunch of EBIs that we're going to take to next year. The one that gets you all every single time is Murphy's Law exists, right? So here's my wish list. There was a blurb in the last Bears newsletter on, hey, Kyle's probably going to give a little dissertation on what we should change in the Missouri QSO Party. And I've already talked to George. George knows all of my ideas. So he's gonna implement all of them, and we're all going to be a happy family. So I'm just going to run through these real quick and see where they go. But we need more participation, right? I'm an advocate for ham radio, and I'm an advocate for my home state QSO Party. I want to have a ton of people on the air. So, I think that we need to send out more emails to clubs, in the Mo area to make them aware of the QSO Party. Advertise in the ARL contest update. That's a bi-weekly newsletter. If you don't get that and you're a contester, I highly suggest you sign up for it. More hype on the Missouri QSO page, Facebook page. Maybe a link to it on the website. Maybe create a mailing list for users to communicate via not Facebook. I know Illinois has got a mailing list, and there's a lot of activity on that mailing list, but they don't have a Facebook page. So not a lot of people do Facebook. A lot of people do email. So it's a tug and a push, right? And maybe get a dedicated domain for the Missouri QSO Party to start branding the Missouri QSO Party. Just my thought. Some rule changes. Mobiles get a county multiplier if they make X amount of contacts from said county. So let's say I make 15 or 20 QSOs from Pike County. I get that as a multiplier. Something to think about. Relax the county line rule to safe distance to activate, or a pitch and wedge rule to get more people on county lines and get them on the air. FT8, this is a hard one. Maybe make this a contest within a contest, so only 8 FT8 participants are competing with FT8. Eric and I had some back and forth. He emailed me a very good, basically, here, I hear you what you're saying on FT8, but here's how I would run it, and make it more of like a Stu Perry event where it is miles between grids. We could probably do that, but I'd like to see FT8 integrated into the contest, but it's got to have maybe its own rules and figure out what's going on. We probably, maybe put a committee together to figure out how we can integrate FT8 more easily into the contest. And then I think we should submit logs 2 weeks out to the end of the contest. None of this 30-day crap. 2 weeks. That's all you get. That's major contests for 2 weeks. I think we should push it to 2 weeks. End user experience. Results are posted 90 days after the log deadline. Distribute plaques and certificates within 180 days. And automatic air checking report for operators who receive higher than a 5-7% reduction, so you can see where your errors are at. This is just my wish list. You have others. I'm sure George has got a wish list. I'm sure that Mike has got a wish list. This is just my wish list. So 2022 plans. I think we've had enough of Union Ridge. We're not going back. We're going to do something else. Maybe I'm going to run mobile. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2022, but we're not going to go to Union Ridge. We're going to try something else. We're going to have, hopefully, another young gun team comes in and tries to beat our score at Union Ridge and figures it out. So it's the end of my presentation. Sterling says expedition operating doesn't have to be complicated. Just get out there and operate. And he's wearing 2 headphones, and it adds 3 dB in your ears if you use 2 headphones. So thanks, everyone, for the presentation. Appreciate it. If you got any questions, I'm going to hang around here for a while, and I can ask or can answer any questions you got.